100%.
Yeah.
So do you guys think I got this right now? I've been listening to everyone. Like this TFE thing.
What's up, Dan?
Seems like they didn't go, but if they did, the sun was fake. But if the sun they saw um, is there, it doesn't matter because we always knew it was going to be there because we always knew about the 24-hour sun. And besides, we have Joseph Hanvey's model to hang on to because God said so.
Now, this is David Weiss's take on it. Is that what you're saying, or some? Because
I've been pulling an average of what everyone's saying, and I left the demons out.
that's what. Wait, that's what. Just is that a comment on? Because that's not what I'm saying at all, dude. I think they went. It was genuine, and that's what happens in the sky there. So I'm not saying any of that
He did
stuff.
like
But
a montage of everything he's heard about it. It just put it all together. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, did you have that? It's legit. Did you have it in there that they just went to on that trip? Because
Well, I'm trying to make sure I know the script.
look, I've seen a lot of other video of people taking that trip all the way from the plane trip, the plane trip and them getting there and coming back, all of that. And seeing these guys go, it was genuine in terms of like that it all seemed to be the same trip in the same place.
Of course, but this week everyone's claiming that we knew about a 24-hour sun. Last week we claimed it didn't exist. So there's been a pretty big twist in
Well,
the story.
that's never been my take though. So what's the we? Like who exactly? Because I mean, I've never said there wasn't one myself and so on. But anyways, we all have our own take on it. But yeah, like where are you getting the we from? Because that's not everybody. And even in general, I don't think everybody asserted there definitely wasn't one. I think a lot of people talk about how there was not very good evidence for it, which I think is still the case. It is like the logical conclusion, considering there's the evidence was so weak, especially at the beginning, because there was like never a footage of the 24-hour sun in all of existence, as far as we know, until like 2014, 2015, when the whole flat Earth thing started erupting. At that time is when the first videos were even like available. Anyways, just the whole history of it and just the limited access and the limited videos and some of the videos that did not seem to be genuine at the very beginning, in terms of like there are the few that have really been shown that they're just not genuine in terms of being actual 24-hour footages. So like why would they even do that if they could have just gotten the real ones? Because there are other ones that are real. So I don't know why they would even have done those at all. Like none of those exist for the ones in the north, you know? Like I've never even seen anyone like show anyone in the north that's even fake. So, but in the South, there definitely are several that are not all of them, but several that are. Anyways, yeah. So that's kind of part of the whole thing. But
Well, are we? Gosh, I said we. Um, are you thinking there's an ice wall or a dome these days?
what do you mean by wall? Like you mean a ring all the way around, or you mean just areas of? Because we know there's shoreline of massive shelves of ice.
Well, there's one around 300 miles long. That's the longest one I saw. I mean, we know Captain Cook didn't go around 55,000 miles around Antarctica, right? We figured that out. We figured out that there's a southern star pattern. I mean, there's a certain amount of stuff we really should figure out what to work with, what we got left, you know? Because the southern stars should have debunked the AE as a working model a long time ago. We just didn't pay attention. So we have to really address that. You know, that literally in Australia, when Marco went down there for that TV show, he waved around the disc and talked about the treaty. And he was 4 years into it then, and it's 4 years since, and we didn't even try and look for an ice wall. That sucks. I mean, so on one hand, we've been duped. On the other hand, we're gullible enough to. I mean, remember my original arguments with Bob were like, Bob, I went to the street, the people spoke back. Can we go through Eric's stuff? Because we shouldn't be repeating Eric's stuff year after year. And yet, that's still where we're at. It took this.
That's not where we are at. Maybe you were that. What's Dan? What's with the
Well,
we
where are
shit,
you
bro?
at? Where are you at? Where do you
I'm not
differ
just
from me?
repeating
Where
Dubay
do you
shit.
differ from me?
I'm not just repeating Dubay shit. If you said we're just repeating Dubay shit, that's not me.
Dude, my take on it, Dan, is that the powers that be currently that are in power have something to do with the Gleason's map and the AE map in general, with the claim that there's no 24-hour sun in the South. That is like a package deal. Eric Dubay and coming from Robotham and these guys, and then when Eric Dubay found those guys as well, and whatever information Eric Dubay got out there, and then others as well with the whole no 24-hour sun in the South thing, and then there's so many other factors to it, like how limited any like video or any even data from it was, like especially back in 2015, 16. Slowly over the years, a bit more became available. And then obviously now that these guys actually win, it's like the most we've ever had really in that way in terms of footage and stuff and just like data. But nonetheless, like the way that that all unfolded, so it's sort of like they knew, I think like the powers that be, as it were, they know that we were going to start realizing the Earth wasn't a globe. So they already had the whole internet like stocked with whatever the literature from like the 1800s that was able to make it through, in terms of like flat Earth back then, as it were, and the different, like David Wardlaw Scott, Robotham, Lady Blunt, etc. Like a lot of those writers. So when Eric Dubay came across it, that's what he was reading and stuff. That's why a lot of his books are just kind of like basically sharing, quotes from those other writers and stuff.
Except Eric just flip flopped on the sun. He
So I'm just saying
suddenly
that was already there, and then the sun thing was already there as well. Obviously, with an AE map, the one sun that we already know works with the time zones and works with time in general, that in terms of where it's high noon will match as the day passes, as it were. So it matches in terms of that, like a huge dial. And so having that already the case, that wouldn't really imply that there would be a 24-hour sun in the South, because you're just thinking of one sun going around like that. So that model, as it were, was kind of sold in that way, and it is kind of a logical consequence of having just one sun circling around. So as this has become
Unless
much more like validated through, there's so much more footage now and so much more like access to it, etc. That's why, in a way, it does actually falsify that basic simple model of the one sun that's just going around. Because yeah, there would, now if you have like reflections or some other effect, you could have like a crystalline reflection or refraction effect that could happen in the South. You could have various other things where you still could have one sun that's going around, but then you're having an effect in the South that is of uh, nature that is maybe even beyond our understanding, in a sense, in terms of like how the actual like electromagnetic field functions. But we just still need to like plot the land and get all of the land plotted like independently from the ground, and then we can match and see that component of it. But there also are two pole models that actually do have the 24-hour sun in the north and the south, and that's what like Lady Blunt talked about back. She was like an early writer in the 1800s, and Lady Blunt in her book Zetetic Astronomy, and in that book, like she basically goes through the entire like southern sun and has like it's like a figure eight kind of look to it. So you have the southern rotation of stars, the northern rotation, and then you have the two 24-hour suns. So yeah, so that's also been already mapped and understood on a planar surface as well. But in terms of how the whole sky functions, like yeah, it does falsify that one model of the sun going around with the AE map, but that could either have something additional going on in the outer that would then solve it, and you could still have an AE map, or those two pole maps solve it as well. If there's a way that the continents lay out with that, that would just mean that there's just actually two poles and two rotations and two 24-hour sun patterns, depending on when the sun is in the north or the south.
are we running with Shane stuff or ignoring Shane stuff? The personal perspective aspect of it. Because I think that's disprovable when you have multiple observations at the same time, which they just kind of did. So I don't know if we have a personal, whatever he calls it. We're not running with that, right?
Well, dude, I said a lot there. I'm trying not to like totally just take too much airtime because I'm letting others want if they want to jump in as well. But have you seen there was this guy that came in from this Persian flat Earth group? And if you've probably seen this one, Dan, it's like an azimuthal projection, but it's from the equator. So instead of wrapping Antarctica as a 360-degree circle, it makes it just a continent, and it's still south from all those areas. But it is obviously laid out quite a bit like differently, so that's the thing that would have to be. And then it would just be like when the sun is like south of the equator, it basically makes the loop around Antarctica, and then you see it in the south. You know, if you're like too far north, you won't see the whole 24 hour. You have to be south enough, but it would still be doing that. And then that would be like winter for people in the north, and it would just be like rising very low on their horizon, setting very low for people like up in the United States or whatever when it's in the south. And then it would actually just be circling that whole Antarctica, which then would mean if that was the case, that like over on the other side of Antarctica, look at how like 50% of it over there, like that would be like warmth. Like it would be like like as warm as like the equator on Earth, like over on the other side of Antarctica, which is kind of interesting because like Admiral Byrd did talk about where that he like went like he said like over Little America. Little America is one of the bases there, and he was talking about going like over, and then he said he was like found these like massive wealth of resources like as big as the United States, just rich with resources. But he didn't really imply that it was all just like icy landscape. It was like rich with actual like accessible resources. So that is wild. Like, is that what he found? Like, because with that, if Antarctica is actually just a continent on the planar surface, however the sky works, the sky works. But I'm just saying, if Antarctica is actually a continent, then and if the sun does the whole circle there on a planar surface, I mean, I get the globe thing. Yeah, they don't really have an option for that because you're just on the bottom of the globe and that's all you get. But with this on a planar surface, what a 24-hour sun in Antarctica means is that either way, like we now would want to like circumnavigate that whole path. Because like when you get a 24-hour sun on the north, you could like the sun is at the Tropic of Cancer, it's in the north and all of that. You could go under the GP on the whole sun, the whole path, You could just go under the whole thing. As it's doing its circle. So somebody could be like in the north, they could be seeing the 24-hour sun. You could be down at the Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Cancer. You could be there and just like driving your vehicle or whatever, right? Or you're having an airplane that's going 1,000 miles an hour, and then just go right under the sun the whole way, and you could make a whole circle. Well, in the south, also being a 24-hour sun there, and if you're in Antarctica, which is we know how far south that is, on whatever the true map of it is, the whole thing is. I'm not saying that one is. I'm just like using that one just to say this idea because it has Antarctica as a continent. But anyways, just if there's also a huge circle there, then we should be able to go on the GP of the whole sun path. And if that was the case, on a planar surface, you'd be winging all the way around like an entire another half of where there could be more land that's under like a warm sun.
I mean, how far in did Bird go? Because to say there's like rich with resources, yeah, you'd have to see like trees, grass, something. Just if you wouldn't roll up on an icy landscape and be like, "Yo, it's rich with resources."
Well, it
No,
was
there's
the
regular
mineral.
ice.
It was the mineral outcroppings on the rocks, and it was mostly coal and uranium. I don't know how he identified those two products, but there's definitely inland lakes for snow melt that doesn't go out to the water. If it pools inside, there's like these volcanically heated, I guess, lakes, and he landed on one and tested it, or next to one, or whatever. I landed on one. I don't know if you guys remember that. So there's definitely inland terrain, but I don't know. I have something to read you guys.
But I mean, you could
asked.
you could still also have like a. Let me just say one other idea. You could just putting things just to share. Like another one is if you have like you would still have like an AE map type of a layout of the continents and all that, like that. Not the exact but that type like all going outwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sky would basically be just like a toroidal magnetic field that like appears to you or appears to any position from that position on Earth in in its own way. And it like even to the point to where like if you were to get to the southern ring, could there be a way that you would actually have a 24-hour sun that circuits you wherever you are in that southern region? And it would essentially
It's
like,
seasonal. It's seasonal. It's not always down there like that.
yeah, only when the sun's at the Tropic of Capricorn, yeah, when it's all the way there.
So, what does the sun do, say, on the equinox? Does it Pac-Man across this?
Well, that was an issue with anything you can even think
No, it
of.
would kind of like do a figure eight, and that's where it would transition from one track to the other. That's when it would go from the bottom track to the upper track. It would just like shift. I mean, it is what the celestial sphere, like how it appears to us, like in terms of stellarium, it does kind of, because that's what it does. Like when it gets to, like when the sun is like doing the 24-hour sun in the south, it's arcing like inwards. You know, that's why rising south of east, setting south of west phenomenon. So like that arc pattern is already happening. So, but when it gets close to the equator, like coming back from, which is what it's doing now, actually, the sun just left the Tropic of Capricorn and is coming back towards the equator now in the next few months.
So not only do you need the sun
months.
to take this weird figure eight path, but you also need an unworkable grid of vision, making the sun apparent to every single person from a different perspective in a different place simultaneously, by only affecting the path of light, not using matter, but using some sort of toroidal field of magnetism that cannot affect the path of light.
No, not. I wouldn't say that was like a steel man of any of my positions, but you did kind of mention some of the things that I had somewhat mentioned, but no, I wouldn't quite phrase it in those ways. But we were talking about
It
different
wasn't a steel man. That was the reducto ad absurdum.
Why would you reduce yourself to absurdity, Dr. Brian Peck?
Sure, you thought that was clever.
Well, I mean, it was really just a straw man. So if you're saying it had anything to do with me, then it was. So that's what my comment is. No, I'm not saying any of those things. If that was your question, but you were just doing a rhetorical bit or whatever you were doing.
It was funny though, Dr. Brian Peck.
Yeah, it is just kind of strange that we're running with this idea that the sun is presented to anybody using a toroidal field of vision without any sort of proposed mechanism that could make any sort of sense, and we're treating it seriously, though.
Are we? I'm not allowed to say we. How come Brian is?
Yeah, I mean, you've just phrased it in a way that is nothing like what I'm even saying, so it's kind of just not in any way what I'm saying.
Fallacious.
Yeah. It's just
You explain the toroidal field of vision in such a way that it has a mechanism by which the sun could appear.
I think you're just
in a way that it
taking
does
like
to every single person.
you seem to be taking random other ideas, maybe from other people, then you're just applying it and then using it to kind of do like mudslinging. It's not really productive because none of those things I said. You came in on the middle of a conversation that was way more interesting with other people. Now you've come in doing some kind of challenging thing and then rephrasing it in none of the ways that I'm claiming. So,
all right, if that's the way if that's how it goes, I'll come back later. Thanks.
Wow.
Yeah, I consider that a W. You called him
Is
on the
that too
post
many?
and he had to leave.
Oh, you're super muffled, Rob. But was that just me, or was that trollish?
I think he was asking for the mechanics.
Can I try again, please?
I think he was just asking for the mechanics.
Is that better?
Yeah, you're clear, bro.
Man, I just got new headphones and they're garbage apparently because you guys said I was muffled. So there goes that.
Better,
but I said, Geo, I consider that a W. because you called that guy out on his bullshit and he immediately just left.
I think
Thank you.
I think that guy's
Well, we
kind of
were just
coming where
kind of like
Dan's from.
riffing. We were like riffing, talking about different ideas, and then he kind of took part of the words I said and then started applying them in some other ways that he's heard, and then was starting to say things that I didn't even say, and then framing it in a way, and then using that, and then trying to get me to now defend the straw man that he built, which was only based on like some of the phrases I used, but not even the actual concepts or anything that I had actually even put forth.
Like you were actually pushing those ideas. Yeah. Horrible behavior. But it's typical. Especially with the name like Dr. Brian Peck. Fuck you doing?
So I had.
But I mean, Dan, like, so, I mean, Dan, like, did you ever say that there wasn't a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, or did you just say you weren't sure, you just did? What was your take on it all these years?
I didn't think about it until they were going, and then I was sure they were going to see a 24-hour sun.
But before that, did you tell people like there wasn't one for years or not? Or
I didn't talk about it. I mean,
so people, when you were out on the streets talking to people, doing stuff, all these, like, you never said, like, did you ever even bring it up in different things or anywhere, or were you always just kind of neutral on it?
Because there wouldn't have been.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Like,
on
it's not like everyone thought
there.
It's not like everyone asserted there wasn't one. I mean, in terms of even if you just take the whole community, as it were. But
there wouldn't have been one with the sun portrayed across the AE. There wouldn't have been one. So why would I have mentioned it?
Okay, but if someone had said, "Hey, what about the 24-hour sun on the south?" you would have just said, "No, there isn't one," or what would you have said?
I would have said exactly what I knew. I said we were first showed some stuff that we identified as not being accurate. Later on, we were showed some stuff that I heard was fixed. That was the end of my argument. And it wasn't until a month ago that you found more stuff than that.
Yeah.
You know, so I can't say this nicely. We, meaning Flat Earth, got ourselves into a real bubble where we stuck to our guns and didn't go check what we were saying. It's fucked up. And it's really sad. It's sad because I don't want to be a shill. So I don't know what I am, but I was misled, so, and do I blame Eric? Do I blame Mark? Or do we blame ourselves for saying do your own research and not doing it? That's fucked up.
Yeah, we blame ourselves.
It's really sad. Instead of crying, I have an interesting piece of information. I was looking for things to challenge McToon on still. And I noticed that if there's a delayed sunset and we're seeing a refracted sun all the time, they didn't mention shit about refraction the whole time. So knowing I didn't have a great case, but I had a good question, I threw this out to McToon. I said, hey, if there's normally a delayed sunset due to refraction at any given point, any time, at any place on Earth, then tell me this. In the dense atmosphere of Antarctica, wouldn't it be possible that we're seeing the sun that it's set already? Is it possible to know? Did you measure the gradient? LOL. That's what they asked me. And so really I was just digging because, of course, you can't measure the gradient, And
but hey, wait, Dan. Aren't you Dan the Waterman?
What does that have to do with
you said you were trying to find something to get McToon on. You're the Waterman. We just need water. That's all we need. That's why I bought a water.
In the meantime,
I
learned
get him with water, bro.
In the meantime, I learned something very valuable about the types of refraction. See, they use refraction as one word, and of course, it's the result of some other stuff. And there's more than one type of behavior going on. So this is what we get to. He says to me, is it possible I could read this? Then you could comment?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
He says the variation in pressure is the driving factor, more than the pressure alone. But the pressure at 2,500 feet was less than in Minnesota. I could tell because the Frisbee flew differently, less loft. I kept throwing short. I had to adjust. He goes, I see the opposite when throwing inside a sports field in the winter when they have a dome over it. The pressure is higher and therefore more loft. So I says to him, you guys tell me I can't see over ice because the refraction's worse. I thought refraction was caused by a combination of temperature, pressure, and angle. And I was just digging at him. And in fact, congratulations to him. Listen to this answer. At low elevation, the primary driver is the vertical change in temperature. I'll read that again after I say myself that I've been saying that it isn't the atmospheric stacking of air on air. It's been the relationship between the surface and the air. So he says at low elevation, the primary driver is the vertical change in temperature, which is driven by the surface. Above a kilometer, the primary driver is pressure. So when Ruhif's got me up in a mountain and stuff, he's got a different set of circumstances driving his refraction as well. So not only do we have two types of refraction as described there, we've got the space in between. I'm just going to read it once more because I found it really valuable. At low elevation, the primary driver is the vertical change in temperature. Above a kilometer, the primary driver is pressure. So amongst the hatred we have for McToon, he's not that stupid. That was a very good answer. And I appreciate the open communication that he allows me to the other side, because I can't stay in the bubble that long. You know, I said to him, I said, as a flat earther, it's hard to deny our gullibility and our hope that made us defend shit we were told rather than hold or support our own opinions. There was a level of politeness going on, going back to Robbie Davidson and the religious side of things, and compared to the rest of us who were more interested in history, nature, and science. So I think that we had a divide back in the day that we refused to talk about, and it caused a rift, and it happened, and Robbie left. But today, you hear Weiss trying to scoop up the Christians, and Patricia was trying to scoop up. These are two people that never mentioned God before, are suddenly trying to solidify their position with this new Christian flat earth. I don't remember flat earth being a Christian thing, but today it is. And it's a trip because it's not the flat earth I thought. I was coming around to a scientific and logical flat earth, but today it seems totally faith driven. And we're, just trying to learn the language again and what we might have and trying to prove flat earthers exist. I mean, it's really weird. It's just like an exact reset to 2015 next year. I mean, we're nowhere. We're starting over. And then you guys say there's no we, so I don't even know what to do, what to say or what to do. But I'll tell you.
Well, we're all who we are. We're all people.
I was just going to jump in and tell him to stop saying we, so I don't know.
Well, we are humans, but yeah, I mean, to me, Dan, like this is just a huge upgrade in my understanding of things. I never really said there was not a 24-hour sun there. However, I did talk about the evidence and how like a lot of the issues with the evidence over the years, and so even for someone now to be like, oh yeah, like of course there's one there. Like I'm saying, somebody who believes the globe Earth, like of course there is. That's easy for them to say because like they already have sort of the globe model that already says it and all of that too. So that it kind of goes with that. But if you were like being skeptical and just wanting to see evidence for it, it really was not sufficient. So like the only way you could have, like a lot of even the globe earthers, especially back in the early years, like 2016, 17, even though even a lot of them admit even the video that was available was not even very good, but they still were like, well, yeah, it just goes with the globe model. So like even a lot of them like admitted back then that they really just didn't even have strong enough evidence. Although over the years there have been more videos that have come out. But I'm saying especially in those early years.
Let me say something else. McToon is going just Lake
So I'm just
Tahoe.
saying, like it's only the death of like of kind of a one kind of idea or model that I guess like they got people attached to where there wouldn't be a 24-hour sun in the south, but there is one there. So
Well, there's probably also a continent there. Steve, we didn't, we didn't cop to that either.
Yeah, but it can be a continent on a planar surface too. So
Okay.
that's. But I would like to see like a circumnavigation of it to really know.
Well, that race has existed for a long time. The boat race from France has existed for a long time. We've ignored it. So I just think that we're going to have to get honest at some point. If there's going to be a we should be honest. We should be fair to ourselves. I mean, I've had a hard time
Well,
with that.
I mean, if you were to take it to like, okay, in terms of like just even the word stationary, like to have a cosmology in which the Earth is stationary, just that alone already goes against the entire mainstream model, the actual rotating, spinning globe and the heliocentric. So it's already against that. I guess like maybe with stationary, you could have like a stationary globe, like a stationary geocentric globe, maybe. So I guess you could have that, but then from stationary, then there's like the planar, meaning like water's level, land comes up out of the water, etc., and whatever the extents are and however the land's laid out. But
Hey Gio, if I can ask you, what's containing the water now? If let's say Antarctica is a continent, what's holding in the water is what a lot of the flat earthers are arguing.
Could it be the same thing holding the gas pressure in? I don't know.
Yeah,
wait, you're saying
And if there's a dome in Antarctica, wouldn't the reflection of the snow also make the dome shimmer in a way? Like, for example, if you shine a light on a mirror and there's that light effect and it goes to, let's say, a glass, it spreads out through the glass. Wouldn't that be the same thing if, let's say, reflection is one of the arguments of the flat earth? Wouldn't that do the same thing with the dome?
You lost me. I don't know, Gio. That was for you.
Yeah, well, the first
it's
thing
for everyone. It's for everyone.
Okay. Well, then if anyone else wants to jump in, there were like a couple things there, so it was, yeah. I don't know which one we're gonna address.
Well, there's no evidence of a dome anywhere as far as I've been. No one's ever shown me anything but Encyclopedia Americana 1959, 1958. That's the only.
Oh, I agree with you. Absolutely. And I mean, to say that us as humans have not explored the outer regions of the outer air quotes, I mean, you can't say that people haven't traveled west, ended up east, or traveled east, ended up west. So.
All right. Well, was anyone going to respond or wait? What was? Yeah, I guess I'm not sure which one is.
Okay.
Yeah. I kind of was just
sorry
for a second, but if anyone else was not going to jump in, I mean, I could respond, but you'd have to repeat it.
I'll say something real quick. I just want to say
go ahead.
That when it comes to the firmament, though we don't have physical evidence of it, tangible evidence of it, there's it's called inductive reasoning, right? So we have plenty of reasoning to infer that there exists a container because of pressure, right? And besides that, we also have texts, right? Like the Torah, the Tanakh, the prophets, they talk about this crystalline structure, Ezekiel. But it's not exclusive to the Hebrew cosmology. Many other cosmologies talk about this container. But there's also some declassified documents from the Russians, and I know you guys know about this. You got those Russian documents going back to 2001 in the FBI vault that talks about they were doing studies and they were testing the luminosity of the firmament at different elevations. Now, maybe that's based off of interpretation, but we do have declassified documents where they refer to a firmament. So what do you guys think about that? I don't know. I don't want to monologue too long.
Sorry, I'm not familiar with the declassify. If you'd like to send it over to me, I'd be happy to look into it. The thing is, I just think that you have been provided the mechanics of how things work, at least in the model of the globe Earth. And instead of just dismissing it I hope you actually look into it and see why it does work, and why Antarctica as a whole, unfortunately, the flat Earth can explain. Yeah, there's just so many things that go on within that. Even the idea of having Antarctica as a continent really messes up with
I don't think it's a continent.
everything.
Nah, yeah, I still stick to the traditional AE
I mean, there's
topographical
so much
plane. It's just the way that the continents are depicted clearly in the AE projection. They're
They
distorted.
have a different
But,
sky in the south.
But
A
it's
different
all
sky
about
in the
it's
south. Do you understand
it's all
that?
yeah. Hold on, it's all about finding the correct orientation of the continents, and we know that in every map that we have, the continents aren't accurately depicted. They're not to scale. The Mercator, all of them have problems with the continents.
Lion, do you understand why the Mercator map doesn't represent a globe, or at least
the Mercator map?
Oh yeah, just as an example. Why?
Yeah,
it's like a cylinder.
No, it's a projection, bro.
Yeah, but so is the AE map.
You can't.
Hold on. So is the AE map. The AE map is also only a projection.
Yes, but the AE map says there. First of all, the AE map specifically says there's no 24-hour sun, and that the land contains the water.
Bro, I know that.
Right. So it's not just the AE map is a map, a projection, but it also shows the mechanics of what the land does.
Well, it's kind of a further interpretation onto it. It's a further reading into it, yeah.
I get it, dude. The AE map's distorted. It's inaccurate. I just got finished conceding that point. All the maps got problems, bro. You won't find a map that has an accurate depiction of the continents and their orientation. It doesn't exist. Now you're looking at me like you have a better map. Nah, dude. The AE map, not the one that Gleason created, but just that topographical plane, that concept of a topographical plane, that still stands, regardless of what the sun does in the south or what the sky's doing. There's this idea of equal this idea of equal circles of latitude moving outwards from Polaris, and the land increasing in surface area as you move outwards. That concept still stands.
You're wrong.
Except the sun arcs to the south when it's in the south, though. So it just, you mean it stands, but how does it go straight at the equator, and then how does it start to arc to the south and when it goes south?
Completely decouple the sky from the ground, right? That's the problem. You have to decouple. Right now, you have them coupled together, and you're trying to infer what the ground is because of what the sky's doing.
Oh, we're coupling.
Yes, I get it. I get it that there's a 24-hour sun. I understand on the rim of the Earth. I get that there's a southern axis of rotation. It geometrically doesn't make any sense on anything but a globe.
You're inferring two borders that don't exist, both a dome and a container for the water. You've inferred two borders on the map that you're sticking to that aren't there.
Before we get into borders, physical borders, just understand that the way that the land itself is physically portrayed in real time, in real life, is as if you were on a plane. So as you move outwards from Polaris, there's equal circles of latitude outwards from Polaris, from that center point. The surface area increases as you move outwards. Whatever the sky's doing, dude,
and then it's phony.
Whatever the sky's doing, dude, is irrelevant.
Then we're not talking about the sky. We're talking about your AE map. It changes at the equator in an unnatural way.
Correct. And it increases as you go south. So that's actually incorrect, Lion, what you were saying. There's only one way to represent how let's say, representation of all the land, with the water included, is on a globe. There are literally 3D models precisely to the kilometer of land that you can project the world on.
I get it, dude. Based off of the latitude and longitude coordinates, right? I understand that the 24-hour sun, right, better fits a spherical model of the cosmos, right? It makes sense geometrically, a 24-hour sun. I'll give you that. But the ground itself does not display any spherical geometry. The ground itself, there's no drop over distance. You have to be able to reconcile that, and you're ignoring all the other observations of our reality, and you're hyper focusing on this 24-hour sun or this axis of rotation that, if you use it as an inference in your cosmological view, would better work on a globe. So what?
Well, in fact,
there's no drop over distance. The ground is planar.
The opposite is true. The only thing we have to hold on to is what you're saying about
Correct.
drop over distance. All the other stuff is stacking against us. You do have something strong to hold on to with no drop over distance, but I find it to be our only thing to hold on to.
Well, no, dude, it's because it's like, okay, either the mainstream is giving you the truth or they're not. And if they're not, then we have to find the truth on our own, essentially. So
how come you're allowed to say
not
we?
only
How come
that's
you're
not
allowed
only
to say we? I don't get it. Every time I say it, I get shit on.
What did I say?
We.
In what context, though?
It doesn't matter. I'm not allowed to say it. It invokes some sort of problem when I say there's an us, or that we should care, or that we should clean up our act, or that we should fucking realize what we're doing.
Yeah, I may have just been using it in the royal we way, but I think what I'm saying, I'm just saying against. Okay, the people that are in control now, people that are in control and in power now, have clearly hijacked a lot of things from our past, and they're using those, I think, for their benefit, probably keeping stuff hidden from us as well, and then doing everything that they're doing. So
okay, Weiss is doing the same thing. Weiss is on our side. Weiss is doing the same thing. He's preventing the truth. He's making up lies. He's perpetuating lies. He's creating everything from dogma to bureaucracy, to ego, and a hierarchy that we can't get near anymore. Like, he's got control. It's fucking awful. I mean, he didn't fix the app that he fucking stole. And nobody cares?
I got a quote here from Captain David Wardlaw Scott. It says, "The world is not a planet, but consists of vast masses of land stretched out upon level seas. The north being the center of the system, it is evident that the degrees of longitude will gradually increase in width the whole way from the north center to the icy boundary of the great southern circumference." That doesn't change because there's a 24-hour sun in the sky from your observation.
There is
80
no
degrees
icy
south.
boundary. There is
where
no
Witsit
icy
was at.
boundary. There is no icy boundary. You don't have evidence of that.
All right, dude. There's
Well, you
more
don't have an
evidence for
inkling
a
of
boundary. Logically speaking, all the evidence is on my side. Logically speaking, if I was gonna try to explain how the waters are being contained or how there's a pressure in our
But
atmosphere,
Lion,
all the real world evidence is on my side.
all right, but Lion, what if it's a realm that has like a planar realm that, let's just say for the moment, that has two poles, so you would get the whole star effect, that whole thing. And what if like Antarctica is a continent, but all of that, then there's a huge icy ring outside of all of that? You see what I'm saying? So it's like both?
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility that there could be some abstract configuration orientation of our reality that I'm overlooking, but I don't think so. I think that it
I
is
posted this one
a
before.
circle. It's a circle. It's not. Let me see what you got.
This one here, it's like this like zetetic map. I'm not saying that's like the map or whatever. That actually still shows the 3 concentric circles. So like that doesn't really account for the sun arc pattern in the south. That kind of has that AE kind of like bullseye thing going on with it. But it has Antarctica there. It could be, but it's still, you'd have to line it up differently. But it just sort of shows the
I don't
idea of
think so.
Antarctica as a continent, but then also there would be even an outer, like it just shows that basic idea of there then being some like much like a. So what I'm saying is that like couldn't there be like various like things going on, but then that whole thing could be still encompassed in like an icy region that you couldn't go past. But even that would be like even further out from more land.
You got to push the dome out further on that one.
And what? It's the land is so close to Australia. You'd think they want the resources in the land. So
Yeah, it's obviously a very just like pencil drawing. How about that one? That's always fun. That there's multiple outer regions, like entire outer like swaths, where there'd be
and
like
they're
two
all
suns.
they're all being hidden from us by the FBI and whatever. But yeah, I just want to say that not everyone's out there to deceive you guys. Not everyone's lying about everything. I mean, I'm into crypto. I think the government is hiding the wealth from the people, and I think everyone should have the right to financial freedom and shit. But not everyone's trying to lie to you guys. Merry Christmas. Hope everyone stays
I
safe.
don't think everyone's lying.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, of course not. Like, I don't know. Are you assuming someone said that everybody is?
I,
But I mean,
I mean,
there's a good
you
amount of them
said
out
that.
there, though. A good
Like,
amount. Like, what is your percentage? What do you say? Like, I guess it depends on what area you're talking about. But I mean, cosmology
exactly.
does have more than like other things. Like biochemistry, not as much. Like
Mm.
and entomology, not as much. Like, there's a lot of other things that are like on the up and up. But with cosmology, yeah, there's a big deception going on.
I don't know, honestly. Like until
But it's
you
only
guys can
run by a
prove.
few people. It's all compartmentalized, and it's run by a fairly small group. The rest of the people believe it and just are going along with it and have limited access to actual real world stuff rather than just data.
Honestly, I think you just have to be smart enough to join the space stations and prove, or the space, whatever they're called, international space
Becoming an astronaut.
programs. Yeah, the national space programs or whatever.
You got to
But
become an astronaut.
you don't have to become an astronaut. You can be good at computers, engineering. Honestly, I'm sure there's a lot of roles open for it, and I'm sure you can do it if you actually tried. But I like
And then
Geo.
and
I
then
think you're
we'd
super
really
smart.
know if
Honestly, like
and then we'd really know if
sorry,
space is real. Is that what you're
sorry.
saying?
I'm just trying to finish my point here. I gotta go. But like Geo, you're super smart. I hear you talk. I've been here for a few days now, and honestly, like if you, no, I don't want to say if you put your knowledge into the other side, you'd be a great globe defender. But honestly, man, like if you guys really wanted to join those space programs or whatever, I'm sure you could. All you got to do is do the work. Anyways, Merry Christmas, guys.
Well, dude, I mean, you may be interested to know that when I was a kid, I wasn't even really that into NASA. Like, I guess a little bit, but not really. I wasn't really like a whole NASA head kind of thing. I always kind of thought the globe was kind of quirky and weird and like the whole astronaut thing. However, I was friends with a kid at the time, and like his dad like decided like, oh, like let's like send the kids to space camp or whatever. And so his father like called my parents and were like, yeah, like because he was gonna be driving down to like Alabama, and so he was gonna be able to drive us there because he had like some business I think to do there or something. And so he like offered it to my parents. My parents were like, okay, yeah. So I ended up going to space camp. Mostly because my parents just said, "Oh, do you want to go?" And I guess I was like, or I don't know. I forget how it went down, but I mean, I basically like, yeah, I guess his dad like asked like if I wanted to go, in a way or whatever. So, anyways, dude, I went to space camp, yeah, which is just like it's not even really related to what you're saying because you're talking about like not like space camp as a kid. You're talking about, but anyways, I went to actual like space camp, dude, yeah, in Huntsville, Alabama, and it was a weird experience, dude. We just like read scripts and like did like fake like launches and stuff. We literally bounced around on wires. We did pretty much like a miniature version of what they do when they like sell this to the world. Like
This
we
one
just did it
time,
all. It was
this
all
one
just
time at
scripts. We just literally read scripts and bounced on wires and then learned
this
about
one
other.
time at space camp, Yeah, they showed you how to fake it perfectly. They're like, look, bounce around on these wires.
And they filmed it, and we got an actual film of the movie of us pretending to be astronauts in space.
Yo.
I still have that VHS tape. Like,
Yo, that actually sounds super fun. So I wish you looked into it
Well, there
further
was a
instead
movie.
of going to the other side.
There
well,
was
no,
a
I mean,
movie
dude, I've
called
studied
Space
like
Camp.
no, I just I really don't think the Earth's a globe like on every level. So it's like that's the thing at the end of the day. Like, it's not really about like I don't think there's these guys are not going to space. Like, there's no space like in that way to go to. And I don't see any like legitimacy in virtually anything of what they put out, like these big major space agencies, as I've seen so much from them that's inauthentic. And then the globe itself is like completely poorly supported in terms of having any curvature or any motion to the Earth. So in terms of all of those factors, like I would have like zero drive to like ever want to even think that like that they even let regular people to be that level of astronaut anyways. But
Yeah, all you got to
nonetheless,
do
like
is join the Freemasons. I mean, but on the last thing though, before we get too far off, there was actually a movie called Space Camp where they actually went to space. You guys, you remember that from the 80s?
No.
I don't know. Maybe.
Wait. So, Gio, how about private space programs like what SpaceX or Blue Origin? I mean, those guys have nothing
Yeah,
to
but
lie.
those
I mean,
billionaires are, I would just say those billionaires are already in their group. You know, if I were just to say group as a general, because you were saying before everyone's lying. It's really not everyone, dude. There's only like small amounts of people that actually need to be in on certain parts of all this. Because the globe is basically a massive, like in my viewpoint, it's like an actual like propaganda campaign. Like it's just like a false concept that has just been pushed and pushed and pushed, even to the point where it's in the actual school books and the government agencies are selling us the actual media, and it just isn't even the case. Like we're actually on a stationary planar Earth, which is what the Earth's been since the dawn of time, which is why all the ancients since the dawn of time had cosmologies that always had a planar and a stationary surface, like the plane of existence with, you know, the celestial sky above us.
all I want to say is it's. I mean, you say it's a small group, but it's definitely not a small group. I mean, first of all these space programs have people who work for those programs, and they all have to be in on it too.
Well,
And
hold
there's
on.
there's field of studies all around the world, like not even not even just in the U.S. or the U.K. or any of these first world countries. There are physicists all around the world who test
Oh,
these things. So it's not a small group of
okay, but
people
let's
just
go.
controlling and
Well,
showing
okay,
you all
I
the
hear
media.
you. No, that's fine.
Hold
Well,
on, Gio,
let
real
me just
quick,
respond
man,
to that
real
one
quick.
thing briefly. Well, you can go next, but let me just say real quick. Okay, yes, I hear you, but I guess in relative to what small, if there are 8 billion people, I think it's pretty small. Yeah, but it's not. But by small group, I don't mean like 10 people. Yeah, I mean we could talk about how many, but let's say at least 10,000, just to throw at least a minimum. But whoever is jumping in, go ahead.
Yeah, let's give us, if you think everyone needs to be on it, tell me who these people are. Let's make a list and see how many people it is. Who needs to be in on this?
On
Is
the
that for
globe
me?
deception and hiding the actual planar Earth coordinates
Yeah,
and
whoever
selling
he
us
thinks
the
is
globe one.
everyone needs to be in on this. Who? I'll give you an example. You said there's a company and the employees would have to be in on it. Well, we could go over the list of the employees. Like, I'm pretty sure the janitor at SpaceX doesn't need to be in on it, right? Or the security guard who watches the front gate, or the secretary for the dude that makes the thing. Like, let's go over a list of who actually really needs to be in on it. It's not going to be that many people.
Is that really the argument? The janitor, the security guard, the front desk, reception? Really?
Who
That
who do you think you implied that all the employees would have to be in on it? That's what you said.
everyone who works on the program has to be in on it.
Okay,
Whoever
let's go
makes
over those
all
people. Who?
we don't need to go through all of these people. There are literally people who study this all over the world, not just in those programs. That's all I'm
Well, let me
saying.
ask you this. Okay, let me just ask you this. For right now, okay, with anyone going to space, you would agree that number one, it's government space agencies, right? That are many, many millions of dollars funded, et cetera, right?
Sure.
And number two, the ones that are claimed to be private, but those happen to right now, they happen to be billionaires. You would agree, right?
Oh, of course.
Okay, so we have government, biggest billionaire, trillionaires in the world, and then we have the billionaires, a few billionaires that are claiming to be doing it. So, and then Elon Musk is so in bed with NASA. I mean, he even admitted like that they gave like all of their mission control stuff over to NASA back in like in the early times of SpaceX and stuff. So like they've had all these partnerships. NASA actually like bailed them out and gave them like this massive donation, which was the first time it was ever given. It was like billions and billions of dollars. I forget the exact number off the top of my head. But in the whole history of that, well, they did it several times. That's why like I don't want to try to recall. There was like several different ones though that like they gave the huge grants to SpaceX, basically to like bail them out. Like they would have been cooked like at one point, and they were like there was like this brand new program that all of a sudden the United States government did, and then they gave them this huge like award. So I mean, it's crazy, yeah.
Can we just iron this out? Because people come in all the time going, "Oh, everyone has to be in on it. We have to just. This is something we just have to constantly deal with." Like, it'd be nice if we had a way to like put this to bed like quickly, because that's probably a huge thing on everyone's mind when they first hear about this. Is oh, everyone would have to be on it. Too many people. That's probably what I was thinking when I first got into this.
But Jeremy,
You know what I mean? When you
All right,
press
well,
them on it, when you press them on it, they can't come up with more than a few thousand people that actually would have to be in on this.
Jeremy,
that's a
but
good point.
rocket
Can
science
you
is only a portion of the whole study of space, though. Like, you don't
Who
have to go to space to be able to study the bodies around it.
who has to be in on it?
Every PhD physicist, anyone, any bachelor's degree, any master's degree,
They don't know.
they all have
They
to
do
be in
not
on
have.
it. Because
Everyone who has a
first of all,
PhD or bachelor's would not
I
have to
mean,
be in
rocket
it. That's
science.
ridiculous.
First of all, the concept of going to space was first an idea. Someone had to come up with the idea, the math, everything to be able to do these things. You're discrediting everything that people have done.
No,
I
it
mean,
was the
I
Nazis,
guess
dude.
there's
It
no.
was all the Nazis.
Man, it's
That's who
not.
were
I guess
doing it
there's just no
back. They
fixing
were the
that.
rocket
Oh,
makers, Werner
man.
von Braun, and they all got brought over to create NASA,
Well,
Nazi
I
but
guess
NASA.
that's
there.
not
I guess there's
true.
just no
Yeah, sure, he was
fixing that.
brought in
I guess
after.
there's
He
just
was
no
brought in
fixing
after it
that
was.
train of thought. Go ahead, man. I'll just
Sorry, I
back
was just
out.
gonna say.
No, don't
Unfortunately,
back
it's
out.
not.
Just go one at a time. And I mean, let's
Yeah,
just
sorry.
chill.
I'm trying to be respectful. Sorry, Jeremy. I didn't mean to cut you off. But unfortunately,
No, you
it's
definitely
not
did.
the.
You powered right through me. You definitely meant it. But go ahead.
Okay, I apologize then. But you can't discredit everyone and just call them Nazis because they joined NASA. I mean, sure, Werner, whatever his name is, was brought in 2 years after NASA was founded, so he didn't build NASA. That's just a misconception that people try to push.
Yeah, there's no helping like there's no even talking any sense to someone that comes in and goes, "Oh, everyone with a bachelor's, a PhD, everyone who looks in the sky would have to be in on it." There's no fixing that.
No, they don't have to be in on it, but they study it. They
Who
help
has to be in
people.
on it? That was the question. Who has to be
Okay,
in on it? We got to go through this rigmarole with you guys every time. Who needs to be in on it?
but you don't think to work there, you have to go through some rigorous studying of what you want to do before you're able to do it.
Who needs to be in on it?
Well, hold on. What are you guys saying in on what? Deceiving us about the about the shape of the Earth?
Gio,
Yeah.
he came in like everyone
All
would
right,
have
I'll
to be
answer.
in on it.
All right. Well, okay, dude. I would say okay. So my understanding what's going on. There's already like there's like a
Gio,
central
can
group
I just
that's
get him to
already running
answer?
the whole system through all the governments, through the United Nations.
Yeah, but can I just get the guy to answer who he came in and said everyone would have to be on it? Now I can't get him to even answer who would have to be in on it. He can't name one person.
Okay, number one, the media.
The
NBC,
media would the
MSNBC,
media report
everyone. Yeah, of course they'd have to be in on it. There'd have to be someone pushing the agenda from the inside.
the media the newscaster says what people tell him to say. He has to be in on it, you think?
Exactly. So
Well,
they do
the
have to be in on it.
That's ridiculous.
There's someone who has to push it from the inside. No, there
No,
has.
the
What if
media
someone says
just says
no?
the stories that they get sent over to them. They don't have to be in on it. If Geo tells me some crazy story and it's my job to tell the story Geo tells me, I don't have to be in on it. That's ridiculous.
Well, I think some of the okay, that's a whole other question you guys are now getting into, whether the reporters are like purposefully deceiving or whether they're just repeating what they're told to
Exactly.
say. But nonetheless, I would say the media definitely is in on the globe lie, like as a whole. Yeah, if that's what we're talking about, like.
All right, how many guys at the media? The
No, I'm
newscaster,
not
the guy who
saying in
gets
on it
told
to
what
the
to
See,
where.
say.
it's not
I'm
about
not
the
saying.
number.
I'm not saying
It
in
is
on it to
about
where
the
they
number
know it's.
because you came in and said everyone had to be in on it. Like there was these billions of people that would have to be in on it. It's definitely about the number.
No, I'm not saying everyone who works in all that media would have to know about the actual globe thing, that the Earth isn't a globe, and that it actually is a stationary plane, and how they're pulling that off. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the media is like definitely complicit in selling the globe as the model for the Earth, and because that's why in every media thing it's like oh 20, the news, whatever, and it shows a big globe ball, and it shows like all these balls everywhere, and then it's like. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of globes and all their logos and stuff. So I mean, the mainstream media across the whole world is very globular, as it were. So
Globular.
it's a globalist world, as it were. I mean, they use that thing everywhere, and all that
Yeah,
media stuff. So, I
sorry,
mean,
but that
they're pushing it. They're not like behind how it's a lie, but they're pushing it as as the model and all the cartoons and all the drawings of it. And I mean, they reinforce it every day nonstop, the globe. So yeah, they are like complicit in selling the deception of it.
yeah, but how many people do you think at Channel 10 is in on it? Do you
Does it
think
matter how
anyone is
many
Probably
even in
people
very
on
if they
it,
few.
or
are
is
pushing
one
it?
guy at the
If
top
the
just controlling the thing?
yeah,
I
but
bet
if
Do
the
you
you
think
if you do
entity
that, it's
anyone at
probably a
Channel 10?
couple. I'll give you a number. Sorry, we're all talking at once. I'll give you a number. Like a couple thousand dudes could probably be in the know and run all the big media across the whole world. Couple
I know,
thousand
but I want
dudes.
a number from the guy who came in and said everyone has to be in on it.
No, that's only a couple thousand.
I
I threw a
mean,
number out like 10,000 earlier, but that was just like a random number. I think there's more. It depends on what you're talking about, but in terms of what like level of how many people would be involved.
They know Earth's flat, and you think there's a couple thousand people in the whole media that know Earth is flat, and they're purposely pushing that it's a globe. I doubt that it's even that many, but let's say it is a couple thousand. Are you happy with that number?
I was
Everyone has
saying
to be in on
across
it,
the
guy.
entire world, like every government, every mainstream media, every news, and how it's linked to every government, like across the whole world. That's what I was saying. You'd have to have like definitely some coordination to coordinate all of that.
I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you guys that there is a small group of people pushing the agenda in the different nations around the world. But I don't think the globe is one of the deceptions that they're trying to push.
It's the biggest
Yeah,
one.
it's
It's literally the
not a
biggest because
deception.
it's the biggest thing we
It's
know, which is
honest.
the Earth, and it's
I
Mother Earth.
mean, yeah, it's because we studied it. I mean, that's why they're pushing what we know already. So, I mean, why push
So then, do you
what
think
you
NASA
don't
faked the moon
know?
landing?
I mean, there's an abundance of evidence that shows that they didn't fake it, but of course, there's so many arguments as well on the other side that make sense of why the moon landing was fake. But I don't know. I think it's real. Um, yeah, I think it's real. I'm not even from the U.S.
Okay, so like you're saying that like you agree with a lot of the things that people are saying. You just don't. You just think that like a lot of that's happening and it's a globe,
I mean, the
like that
rooster
NASA's
tails.
being legit.
I still haven't seen explanation for rooster tails.
For what?
The rooster tails off the tires of the buggy. You know how they fling off the tires and they float a certain way?
Yeah, that
That's
it
supposed to
matches
match.
Earth's gravity and not the moon's gravity. Yeah, that's a good one.
Unfortunately, it doesn't match the Earth's gravity. I don't think that can be replicated on Earth.
No, it
Not at
can.
all.
No, it can. Because if you speed it up and you do the arc pattern and the time and the speed,
Mhm.
it matches exactly what it is on Earth. Whereas it should be doing it 6 times and it's not. Yeah, that's a proof that they're not actually in
Uh,
1/6 gravity.
Oh, dude,
I
my
was saying if you
favorite
knew
thing.
that one, that's because that's getting into some of the. There's like there's probably like top 30 that are like some of the better, really technical proofs,
Mhm.
that it was fake, and then there's like another 30 that are, anyways. But yeah, so if you knew
So
that one, that's definitely somewhere in there. Go ahead.
my favorite thing about the moon landing is this is your first time on the moon. You're in the most dangerous situation a human being's probably ever been in. Would you jump around like a bunny rabbit, be rolling all over the ground, smacking your face shield on the ground, or would you walk very carefully? What do you think?
Do you think you know how to walk?
I think they would know how to walk, yes.
No. No, I don't think you know how to walk at a
That's
sixth
your
of the gravity
argument?
on
They don't
Earth.
know how to walk? They couldn't figure out how to walk
No.
in less gravity?
That's why they were testing it, right? I mean, first step, sure, you could miss. Roll over, fall to the ground, try to catch yourself. Why not?
So your argument is they didn't know how to walk. That's why they're out there bouncing around like bunny rabbits.
I'm not saying they don't know how to walk, but
So that,
they were trying to learn. Of course, being in a new environment, there's so many
learn to
things you
do
have to
what?
learn.
Yeah, but they were
Because
bouncing
I mean,
around the whole time. It's not like they just did it right off the jump and then figured it out and then we're walking
okay,
normally. They
if
were
if
just
if you
bouncing around like
had
bunny rabbits the whole time.
if you had the sixth of the gravity on Earth, and you could jump twice as fast as you could walk, wouldn't you?
I don't know. Would I risk landing on my face
Exactly.
shield
You
and
got to
cracking
learn.
it or tearing the suit? Yeah, you
You're
got to
making my
learn,
point.
but they were doing it the
You're
whole.
making my
Dude,
point.
stop saying they have to learn. They were jumping around like bunny rabbits throughout the whole thing. So it's not like they got up there, learned how to walk normal, and then was walking normal. They were bouncing around the whole time. That's not even a thing. I don't know why you keep bringing that up.
So you didn't get my point about twice, like being able to jump twice as fast as you would be able to walk. You'd reach further, literally, if you took that leap over and over
Every
than
time
if you
you
just
jump,
walked.
and
Well,
I know, but every time you jump, you risk tearing your suit, tearing your face mask, which equals death.
yeah,
I
dude,
mean, that's what it
Jeremy's
was built
argument
for.
is that I think Jeremy's argument is that yeah, like if they were on another actual planetary body, like they were acting like goofballs in a studio. I'm adding that to it. I'm adding that. They were like joking around. Dude, did you see them? Yeah, that's what he's saying. They were like bouncing and like oh my gosh, dude. So, at some parts they're like falling over and flailing on the ground.
Just
Like
sharp. Isn't the moon covered in like sharp rocks and shit?
yeah.
Meteor particles? Like, what were the suits made of? Cloth? You got glass face shields on? Like, I don't know. I just wouldn't be like jumping around like a bunny rabbit when my life's on the line. All of the world's watching. Your whole country's standings on the line. Like, it's ridiculous what was on the line for this.
I mean, I can't give you a definite answer of why they were jumping around, why why they chose to do that instead of walk. I mean, all I can say is maybe it was they knew what they were doing. They knew what the material of the suits were made of, maybe, and they knew that if they fell, it would be all right. So I don't know what to tell you. If that's if that's the proof that you can provide that the moon landing was fake, then I mean,
Well, that's
if
just a
that's
good
the
one
case,
because you just wouldn't do that. Like, I don't know. You'd be very careful and methodical. Every step was planned out. You wouldn't just go jump around all crazy and risk cracking your face shield or tearing the suit or breaking the PLSS or any like. There's so much shit that could go wrong. It's not like you're just on Earth just jumping around and you fall and get scraped.
No, they were rocking out to crisscross up there, dude.
Yeah.
Jumping all over.
House of Pain
anyways,
shit.
I gotta go, guys. I appreciate the talk. Thank you guys for talking to me. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, man.
See you guys
Yeah, you too.
WGO.
Take it easy.
That's another WGO.
Dude, people come in all the time and go, everyone would have to be in on it. That shit is annoying as fuck. And then they can't even tell you anyone.
Okay, Bubble Masters. Here's something going on.
Yeah, so Dan, yeah, we were talking about that before. So
Okay, so there's
I don't know, man. I think everyone's just their own person at the end of the day, and people do kind of like team up in different ways, but at the end of the day, we're all humans on Earth, and so I think like just on the we thing real quick, if you were to say we and then like categorize the whole thing, for example, if you were to say we all said there was not a 24-hour sun, well, that would not be true. It would certainly not be true for me because I definitely never said there definitely was not one there. I definitely talked, like I said, about the evidence and like analyzing that and doing all the digging. And in fact, over the last several months, I've been much more like, especially what I've been showing people as well. And then in terms of the arc angle of the sun in the south as well. So it was awesome that those guys were able to go to get like a more direct footage of it.
If we had any sense, I mean, we've done so many things wrong, but if we had any sense going forward, we'd realize that the Globers, not normies, but the Globers, the 60 or 70 of them that have been around, 100 of them, whoever they are, they're part of our community. It's not well named what that community is, and if we were to rename it, they're one and the same. Our arguments that like they're not going to go away, we're not going to go away, and to think that they're on the other side is weird because we're in the same ballpark playing the same game. So the opponent, the league exists. These other factions of flat earthers and stuff, I guess, are in a different league, even though they're playing the same sport. It's really hard to get anyone to do anything. I don't know if anyone knows anyone in talk, but there's been a challenge to McToon regarding a line of sight observation across Lake Tahoe. And I think it's 17 miles from one dock to another dock. And there was a $5,000 wager. And
yeah, no, I have thought of Lake Tahoe, dude, that you could definitely like test could be done. I've been to Lake Tahoe and like it is absolutely amazing. Like what a beautiful place. It is like out of a cartoon book or something. Like the level of beauty, it's just unbelievable. But anyways, but that lake as well is pretty huge, like Lake Tahoe. So, dude, I've thought about definitely. It seems like, especially with perhaps the conditions there could be some really good long range shots. Probably could be done there, or other tests too.
So here's the deal: the challenge
it's high up in altitude.
The challenge given to McToon isn't achievable. So McToon's going to win. So I'm trying to fix this because the guy's not going to show up even, and McToon's going to pretend he won anyway. The idea of seeing a dock at 17 miles away isn't going to happen because the reflective light coming back to you is not bright enough. So unless they use a mirror or go to nighttime with light, there's nothing to be proven during the day. Like I promise you, McToon's going to go there and say, well, dude didn't show up, but I'm going to try and see the dock anyway. I don't see it. It's a curved earth. So I heard that Nathan Thompson wanted to do some shit. So I sent him a message and he just chastised me for listening to McToon. So now I'm arguing with fucking Nathan for no reason. Because that's the way he is, and he gets, and it's like, so he wants to do a test and he has this Fresnel lens or something that he's got. So it would be the perfect target. But so far I can't get anyone to wake up. McToon is going on the 11th to Lake Tahoe. He's going to pretend to achieve a challenge that isn't achievable under the circumstances. I told him he needs to do it at night, and he says that's not part of the challenge. So he's fulfilling a challenge made by a flat earther as a stickler to dig it in to that dude. That dude's name is like Jack something Herrera, Jack Cushman Herrera or something like that. And the guy has finally spoken to me, this Cushman guy. So he's like, well, fuck it. Toon's setting the date all of a sudden 2 weeks away. Fuck it. And I'm saying, well, he's going to call a victory. So what I'm trying to do is figure out, is anyone there? Can we replicate Nat Geo and send a boat out 3 miles to see if a 1 foot and 6 foot observer see anything different? And remember, they claim we can't see anything from a foot. And I'm like, well, fuck you. You can. And that's, so this problem is they say it's too unreliable down low is one thing, and that would be based on time of day in terms of the relative heat off the water. Now you got to remember, they're still fucking with us with refraction, because when they say refraction, it's normally due to cold temperature because the water is colder than the air. And in the heat of the day, it's the opposite. There's all this heat building off. In the infrared spectrum, we can see all kinds of interference or noise, listen, like on a convection line that causes obstruction. So most of the time when they're seeing obstruction, it's a heat issue, and it's way beyond the predicted horizon point. If we can get them to admit ever that there is such a thing as optical illusion in any form, then we can get them to commit to the geometric horizon, which they never admit exists. It's really close. I just want to point out the replication of Nat Geo seems imperative because it's so basic. You got two observers at different heights. They should see something different on a globe. The difference between the 5 foot guy and the 1 foot guy. And then, if it's all refracted in any way they fucking claim, as that thing moves from 1 mile to 3 miles, it's got to go over the globe if it's a globe. So this short test without any distant shit, it needs to be replicated. And if we get McToon on the water, we can make a stand here. Otherwise, we're going to look as dumb as we keep looking. We've been making up shit. The only thing we have legit is the fact you really can work low. And you don't have to claim you can't. And they have no demonstration of the Earth deviating away.
Hey, Merry Christmas Eve, Dan. Is that what this is about?
Yes, Merry Christmas Eve.
Merry Christmas Eve, everybody. It doesn't have to be flat today. We can just enjoy each other's company.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year for when that comes around. Thanks for being here and providing us with such good content.
Great. If anyone wants to get something done, we need someone with a small craft in Tahoe on the 11th.
Tahoe the 11th. Got it. Tahoe the 11th.
Reno.
Amen.
Otherwise, there's no one making any stand of any claim. In other words, do flat earthers still have a claim? Let's get real. I mean, let's claim what we can, because we really can see too far, and we need to demonstrate it in the face of this dude if we can.
What are you doing for the holidays, Dan?
I was visiting Geos because I figured it's quiet enough I could hang out.
All right, man. That's cool. It doesn't have to be flat today. You can just hang out.
Dude, it's your rules suck. Don't impose your rules upon me.
Fuck
you so much. Fuck you
just
so much.
Give me a hug, brother. Come on. Stop.
Thank you
give me a hug. Everybody hang out. We're glad to have you, Dan.
Thanks for
how's everyone else doing today? Glad to have everybody. I hope everyone's doing well.
I second that.
Word, thank you. Yep. I'm missing America, but I'm super stoked for all of that. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, I don't blame you, because I just had Texas barbecue brisket. And
brisket is the best meat. Like,
you are
anybody
definitely
that tries
missing-
to argue with that, I'm sorry, but brisket all day.
That's
all
what's
day.
up.